Oh, God, it's so good. So good. So good and tasty.
It's Pride Month, and damn it, I love queer horror. So over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be covering content made and/or including queer themes. Hey y'all, my name is Mike Vaughn, and today we're going to go to the pits of hell to discover Hellraiser 3 and why it's good, actually. Before we get into Hellraiser 3, I think proper context is in order. Clive Barker wrote The Hellbound Heart, a novella published in 1986. The book's themes of S&M, sex connected to violence, and the leather-clad monsters known as Cenobites were all inspired by Barker's real-life experiences, minus the demons. When it came time to adapt his novella into a film, Barker was a bit gun-shy. This is because the horror writer was deeply unhappy with the previous adaptations of his work. The final straw seemed to be Rawhead Rex, directed by George Pavlou, who also directed Barker's adaptation of Underworld. Disclaimer, I very much disagree with Mr. Barker, and I will defend Rawhead Rex as a brilliantly insane bit of folk horror that I will be sure to cover on this channel. Looking back at it, I cannot begin to think of anyone else directing Hellraiser 87 other than Clive Barker. He really was the only person for the job. Hellraiser has all the hallmarks of 80s fare, yet it's incredible for its use of symbolism and imagery that blurs the lines between beautiful and the deeply grotesque. The end result was something that was truly special in the horror genre. Barker would follow up the film with Hellbound Hellraiser II. Hellbound is truly one of those rare sequels that is as good, if not better, than the first. It continues the story while also expanding the world building. And then you have Hellraiser 3. Hellraiser 3 would mark a huge shift in the franchise. This is because, by and large, Barker was not involved in the series that spawned the horror icon Pinhead. But this was not always going to be the case, and Barker was in talks to be involved in the third film as far back as filming Hellbound. However, this of course did not pan out, and the rights to the Hellraiser name and the series was sold. Hellraiser 3 holds a lot of nostalgia for me. It's the first time I saw a Hellraiser film. This is because it was a staple of cable airings, and I would record as many horror movies as I could. It was kind of perfect for me at the time, since it certainly did have more of the sex and gore than the previous films. But of course, I later saw the original two films and fell madly in love with them. Thanks to Arrow's 4K box set, I recently rewatched this entry after some time, and you know what? To my delight, it holds up extremely well. Barker is not involved with this, and that is painfully obvious. And this clearly has the sheen of a big budget Hollywood film. Yet, despite these facts, director Anthony Hitchcock truly does his best to capture the previous two films' overtures of dark poetry. Hitchcock never became a household name in horror, but he directed such cult classics as Waxworks and the highly underrated sequel. There are some great set pieces that have a real spark and energy lacking in some of the later direct to DVD and in name only entries. The narrative is very creative and it tries its damnedest to connect the previous films while also being a soft reboot slash requel. Despite the Hollywood gloss, Hitchcock is able to inject the entry with a lot of grime and gritty overtones. An attempt is made to very much link these to Hellraiser and Hellbound, and I would say it's pretty successful. We even get a fun, albeit short cameo from Ashley Lawrence, reprising her role as Kirsty Cotton. Sadly, this will be the last time she is featured in the series, and yes, I don't count Hellraiser Hellseeker. Moving on. The scummy J.P. Monroe, played to the hilt by Kevin Bernhardt, actor turned writer and producer, and apparently noted Silver Fox, really makes a meal of his character. Moreover, Monroe embodies the themes of sadosexual and, given it's strongly implied that he killed his parents for their wealth, a real vicious streak. He seems like an evolution of Frank from the previous entries. Perhaps the biggest change to this film is Pinhead is now front and center. And you know what? That's alright by me. Doug Bradley is having a wicked good time carving up folks while also getting out some poetic lines about suffering. It's a weird juxtaposition, and I love it. Seeing how this is a soft reboot, the remaining Cenobites are not present. However, we do get some new ones that you either love or hate. And seeing how this is good, actually, I love the hell out of them. Over the decades, Hellraiser III has gained a nice cult following. The same would be true for the next entry, Hellraiser IV Bloodline, which I may cover later on. Anthony Hickok did not phone this project in, and his splattery love letter to the genre is very much up there on the screen. Sure, it's not the same without the original creative team, but it's a worthy sequel in my book. So I hope you all enjoyed that video. Please weigh in the comments below and tell me, do you enjoy Hellraiser 3? Also, what other sequels in this franchise do you think is worth a reappraisal? Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see y'all in hell or the next video.